Last night was like being at professional wrestling or the Harlem Globetrotters, where you're there for the entertainment when you know full well what the outcome is going to be. That's what it was last night at the Olathe City Council meeting. Good morning, 6:04 on a Wednesday. Great to be here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. We are always streaming on the iHeart, TuneIn, and KCMO Talk Radio apps. So you heard John mention there, top of the hour news, that in Olathe last night, it was a unanimous 7-0 vote to contribute a portion of the sales tax revenues that would be generated from this new location at College and Ridgeview to put towards the Star Bonds to pay off the project for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, I was there last night. Mark was there. How about a round of applause for Mark this morning? He was our roving reporter, did a great job on the KCMO Talk Radio social media channels. And last night was clear frustration from the people. That's what it was. And I always knew, I said yesterday, I didn't know if I was going to be able to make the meeting. But I went to the meeting last night, and one thing was very clear. The minute the city council started talking, after the people were done giving their 2 cents, not only did I know this thing was done, which is what I predicted all week long leading up to it. It was a dog and pony show. It was a chance to make you feel good about yourself, like your voice is being heard, when clearly nobody's voice was heard last night. That was the name of the game. And there were some very smart, savvy, concerned residents who, in one case, the guy was a macroeconomics teacher. Another guy's an accountant. These are business leaders. These are private practice people. It was a combination of white-collar professionals, blue-collar workers, young, old, middle-aged, everything in between, with legitimate concerns about how the city of Olathe has handled this entire project. But it was always a done deal. And at about 9 o'clock last night, after give or take 90 minutes of residents speaking, getting up to 3 minutes, you had the mayor, John Bacon, make this announcement. And then this is what the vote sounded like in Olathe last night, 7-0.
As far as this particular project, I kind of agree with Councilmember Scudo that this is a fairly easy decision tonight. This is money that has going to be coming from a piece of property that has been sitting there for a lot of years, and I've been told that it's difficult to develop on. The Chiefs feel like this is a place where they can build a training facility and a headquarters and have success. And from what I know about the Chiefs organization, they're a very class organization. I'm glad that they've invited us to be a part of it. So with that...
Okay, stop right there. The Chiefs have not invited Olathe to be a part of anything. The Chiefs picked Olathe because of the sweetheart deal that was offered by the state of Kansas. And let's be honest, too. If you look at the way the Star Bond map is probably going to be drawn, to justify putting in the western half of Johnson County into the Star Bond district, it makes a lot of sense to have a stadium up in KCK and a practice facility 20 minutes down the road so you could justify putting the Star Bond district and making the Star Bond district as large as you did. Now, as for that plot of land, this is, a lot of what I heard last night from the Olathe City Council. Well, the land's just got a bunch of cows on it, and, there's no sales tax coming out of it right now. So if we kick a little bit back to the project, what's the big deal? We'll get something out of it, and something is better than nothing. Well, as is always the case with things like this, and this was brought up last night by residents. I wondered if some of these residents maybe, listen to the show, listen to the podcast. I met a bunch of great listeners last night, a couple of speakers as well. It was nice to see them, many of them for the first time. But what's it going to cost you? What are the infrastructure costs to Olathe, right? If suddenly you're doing plumbing, you're involved in, some of the public works that need to be adjusted on behalf of a project of this size. What does that cost the city? Expanding roads. What does that cost the city? All these things, law enforcement, expanding that footprint now with a project of this size. What does that look like? What is the cost? They just sit there and they say, well, if we're getting sales tax from this project, anything we get is better than zero right now. Yeah, that's true if there's no other costs to the city. And anyone who's got, half a brain in their head knows there are going to be costs to the city. So what are they? And that's where a lot of people were last night, a lot of the speakers. They were like, listen, we know that this is probably going to go through, but can you just take a second? Can you get more information? Can you share a little more information? Can you do the cost-benefit analysis before you just say, well, something's better than nothing. Might as well do it. And there's always this approach of, well, that's just empty farmland right now. There's a few cows over there. It's not really bringing us any money. Because in their eyes, every piece of land from a government perspective must somehow be maximized to make the government more money. If that plot of land is just sitting there, in their eyes, it's wasted land. Have you ever considered the notion and the idea that people who live in that area may like things the way that they are? And that's not being against progress. That's not being against change. I have some audio this morning that I will play for you. It was the grossest thing of the night when the husband of a sitting city council member in Olathe, who also happens to be a developer who does jobs through the city of Olathe. You want to talk about a conflict of interest? Oh, my goodness. It's as clear as day. When that guy gets up and starts preaching about how everyone's against progress and you can't stop progress and we're just here to make your lives better and you don't even realize it. I mean, just go pound some sand, my man, please. But when that's the general approach and that's the general theme by some, it's not about that. It's not about being against progress. It's about having a full picture about what's best for the city, the ultimate bottom line, what's best for the neighbors in the area, to the west, to the south along College and Ridgeview, to the southeast. What makes sense for that part of town? How do you make this all work? None of that information's out there. It's just, well, it's an empty plot of land. Chiefs want to be here. Oh, boy, we are sure lucky the Chiefs picked us. We'll go ahead. We'll go along with it. And to hear people talk last night, it was not Republican, Democrat. It was not left, right. It wasn't. You had super progressives go up there and say this is ridiculous. You had rock-rid conservatives go up there and say this is absurd. You had people in the middle who seemed fairly apolitical say the same exact thing. It was really about the folks versus the insiders. That's what it was last night. That's what the frustration was about last night. It was about regular people voicing their opinions, and then an establishment, an insider class, an economic development voodoo math group going up there and saying, we don't care. That's what it was. And that's what this 7-0 vote last night in Olathe was really about. There are not many things that unify us politically these days, but regular people are unified against kicking $1 of future sales tax revenues to multi-billion-dollar businesses and families. You can love the Chiefs, I do. You can respect Clark Hunt and the family, I do. You can also believe, as I do, and many of you do, that $1 of your future sales tax revenues should not go to pay off the practice facility. If they truly want to be in Olathe, if they truly love Olathe, that's great. If they truly want to partner with Olathe, that's even better. They already picked Kansas. They already supposedly picked this site. If Olathe has the option to opt in or opt out, why, if you work for the taxpayer, would you opt in? Because it was a done deal from the start. And that's fine as well. I understand how the game works. But that's why last night was in many ways just frustrating. It was a dog and pony show. That's it. The outcome was decided. It was professional wrestling. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. We'll hear from you if you were there in Olathe, if you were there in KCK last night. KCK also had a huge meeting as well. There was no vote in KCK. That is going to happen now coming up on Thursday. But there was a ton of blowback there as well. I was talking to people who were in KCK, and it was overwhelmingly against. So what happened in KCK? What did it sound like there last night? 913-408-7957. If you were there, if you were on the ground, or even if you weren't, we'll get to your calls and what happened there as well coming up on KCMO. So packed last night in Olathe. I was there. Mark was there. He did a great job on our KCMO Talk Radio social media channels where of the 25 speakers, 20 of them were probably against it. And those that were in favor were either advisors to the city council, union members, i.e., they want jobs, or, as I noted, you had a husband of a sitting city council member who's also a developer talk about how if you don't want this, you don't want progress. How dare you not want to have this project here? You're stuck in the past. It was as condescending a commentary as I've ever heard at a city council meeting. And I actually ended up yelling at him. I'll play that audio. Did you hear me yell at him, Mark? Did you know that was me?
I thought that was you. I didn't look back, but I thought it was you.
Well, you get 3 minutes, right? You got 3 minutes.
Yeah, he was going overboard.
He went to it's not like he went to 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
It's like double overtime.
He was at the 4 minute mark. And finally, I'm like, time's up. And I was just standing in the back. It was standing room only last night in Olathe. So I'm like, time's up. I mean, if no one's going to tell you to stop on the city council, then I'll do it and kick me out. That'll be good for the show anyway.
Yeah, World Cup etiquette. Fans all whistle when they think time's up. They all keep track on their hands.
Oh,
so
that's
that's
great.
when you hear a lot of whistling at the end of the game,
Well, I got a problem.
Should have done. Bust out.
I don't know how to whistle. That's my problem.
Bring the civility bell.
Yeah, that's what I should have done. I should have brought my own civility bell. Hey, buddy, time's up. I mean, it was such a chump move.
Cans with a compressed air horn in it.
Oh, my gosh. It was so obnoxious to be listening to that from a sitting council member's spouse. Oh, I will play some of that coming up later this morning on KCMO. Now, in Wyandotte County, I had people texting me from KCK last night, where you also had dozens of residents speaking to the unified government about a proposed star bond district that would pay for a new stadium for the Chiefs. Now, this is a local district within the area of the stadium that would also help pay off the star bonds. So let's reset this real quick before I get to some audio here. Okay? You have this massive, potentially 300-mile district, 300-square-mile district that the state approved to pay off this $3+ billion deal. This is all of Wyandotte County and like the western half of Johnson County. I think that's why Olathe was picked. I mean, Olathe thinks it was picked because it was like the, hottest girl in the room. Olathe was picked in part because it allowed them to extend this district to be ridiculous in size because that's the only way you can justify paying off the district. 2 weeks ago in Topeka, you had the Chiefs lobbyists come out and say, hey, we think this deal could pay off in half of the amount of time, in 15 years. So if you're that confident, why do you need the cities of Olathe and the unified government of Wyandotte County to kick in $1? If you're that confident in this project generating the revenue through an abused star bond district that you think it will generate, then why do you need a dime of future revenues from Olathe and KCK? Why? If you are that confident in the project paying off in half the time, even if you don't get the local monies, okay, fine, maybe it's 20, 25 years. You're still under that 30-year mark. Why? There's never a good answer for it. It's rhetorical when I say it, But, it does give you some perspective as to what this is all about, because these local municipalities are being told, hey, you got to chip in, man. That's how this deal gets done. Well, if I'm just sitting back with a little common sense and analyzing this from a 35,000-foot view, I'm like, well, why am I giving a dime of future taxpayer revenues to a project when the team said they're coming here anyway? They supposedly love Kansas. They love Olathe. We're now a touchdown state, air quotes. So why? Great, they're coming. I don't feel any obligation to chip in $1 when, by the way, you're going to have to spend some money on things like infrastructure, public works, law enforcement costs will go up. You're going to have to spend something anyway. Team's not footing that bill. That's going to be from the taxpayer as is. So we're chipping in. We don't need to chip in more. So Wyandotte County last night, this is some of what it sounded like from some of the folks who were there.
We can't even get to our house because they can't do the infrastructure and traffic properly.
Living in this area, we are directly impacted by any proposals that could further increase the financial burden on any residents.
Many urged commissioners to ensure Wyandotte County gets something out of this deal.
Let's put Wyandotte County first and collect every penny of that increased sales tax collection.
I support the Chiefs. I don't support deals that put KCK taxpayers at risk. I am a proud Dot, and I hope y'all are proud Dot too. We deserve transparency, fairness, and investment. I don't want to say vote no, but vote for a solution.
All right. Well, that's probably going to be yes then if you're giving them two options. Yeah. Well, she said vote for a solution, so our vote is yes. That was from the KCK meeting last night. So you had, as I talked to people who were there last night, many folks who were also against all of this. Now, this is something that I heard from members of the city council in Olathe. And this is, I don't know how you felt, Mark, but this is when I'm like, all right, I'm going home. I'm going to bed. I knew the outcome. We all knew the outcome. We knew how this was going to play out, right? But the minute one of the council members got up and he said, I know you were all against it, but, man, you should see my email inbox. Oh, man, the supporters, it's 90-10.
90%, yes.
Yes. Dean Vackus, Ward 2 in Olathe. He was like, oh, man, I know tonight we've got a lot of you who really don't like the project. But, man, my inbox. Oh, my inbox.
I heard several people around me. They did an audible groan.
Oh, man. And, just to be clear, too, Mark was there, obviously, on behalf of KCMO. He did a great job on our social media channels. But if you've listened to this show for any period of time, you know how I feel. Mark's on the other side. Mark's pumped. They're coming to Olathe. He's excited about it. So Mark was not there with the same mindset as many of the people who were there. But Mark had a great seat. He was there super early. And you heard the groans when that happened as well, because I heard him in the back row.
Oh, yeah.
But I was with all the rebel rousers there in the back. Mark was there with the people who, get there early and have their paperwork in front of them, and they're not as likely to start, cheering or jeering from the back row. I was with all the knuckleheads in the back row. So it was a different vibe back there compared to where Mark was. But I'm glad that you picked up on that as well. But that's when I said, you know what? I knew this was going to be a done deal. Now, I didn't know if it would be 7-0, but I knew it was going to be a done deal in Olathe. And when it came out the way it did, and the council starts saying, hey, there's nothing there now, something's better than nothing, with this assumption that, no one will ever buy that land unless we give it to the Chiefs right now, right? That's something else as well here. Like, if we don't do this project right now, it will just stay farmland with cows forever. And that's not how the real world works. That's not how the private sector works. But that's also something that they use to justify how they're going about their business. Dennis in Bonner Springs, real quick. Dennis, what's up, buddy?
Pete, listen to what you're saying, what I've read, my thoughts on it. Who owns that land that it's going to go on?
In Olathe? It's a family.
Okay. The other thing. You all were given an hour, you said 90 minutes to hear the spill on something they've been dealing with for 2 years. Doesn't that make anybody say, wait a minute, something's not right here?
Well, that's what a lot of people. That's what they were saying last night. They're like, I don't even know if I'm for or against it, but I know the process has been terrible.
Yeah. And everywhere I go, Pete, I don't care if it's standing in line at the supermarket, at the China store, at the gas station. I talk to people. Everybody's against this. The people that are for it, like the stadium, I'm going to get to go sit and watch a Super Bowl. And I just look at them and I don't say nothing. kind of the Bonhoeffer theory. They're stupid and you can't change their mind. It's not stupid. But anyway.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it, brother. Got to run, buddy. Got to run. I guess you got to check out Dean Vakas's email inbox. News in a minute. It's funny to look at all the local TV news this morning because they've got their reporters standing in the field at K10 in Ridgeview, where the Chiefs want to put their practice facility. Last night, that 7-0 vote goes down in Olathe to move ahead with incentives for that project. And now they've got the reporters out there at 6:30 in the dark reporting from an empty field. It's like you could probably I know you like there's no optics there. All I see is darkness in a field. Doesn't mean anything to anybody. But anyway, that goes 7-0 last night. KCK will vote on Thursday at 5:30. And I was at the Olathe meeting last night. It was 4-1 against the project. And those in favor seem to have some ties to city council or ties to the project in general. Like there were reasons they would want it to pass. Potentially financial, political reasons they would want it to pass. I see Mark's head on the TV there. I just saw it pop up on one of the local news stations. Mark had his hat on last night, keeping a very low profile. And in KCK, obviously, they are considering incentives around the stadium to use those monies to help pay off the Star bonds as well for this project. Yes, John.
We can't win things from the station or the company. I can't go down to the Fox and win the trip to see Guns N' Roses wherever I want to go or here even, right? So we probably should have some kind of rule like that. If you've got some, hand in the game, should you be allowed to speak there?
Well, I agree.
It seems like at least the goal is intended for the regular citizen to speak and not be crowded out by 4 or 5 people who obviously have a rooting interest.
Think about this, all right? Scoop and Score, the lobbying arm of the Chiefs, they were sending text messages all over Olathe, basically begging people to come out last night and show their support. And they couldn't get them. I mean, the people who were speaking out in favor of it were friends or family, or in one case or 2 cases, union members who obviously stand to benefit from the project. The people speaking out in favor had skin in the game. Everybody else was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this. That should tell you something right there. Like, regardless of what you think and what your opinions are, when the people who have something to gain are the only ones coming out in favor, friends and family, so to speak, and everybody else was like, I got a lot of questions here.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in favor or against it. How can I know?
How can I know? What does that tell you? Tells you maybe you take a step back and you think about the people. Last night was not a conservative Democrat thing, a left versus right thing. You have the left and the right in Olathe largely coming out regular folks against this with a lot of questions. And then you have the city council. There are liberals, there are conservatives, or I should say there are Democrats and there are Republicans on that city council, jam it through 7-zip. So it was not a left-right issue. It was the regular people and the folks against the establishment insider class. That's what it was. That's what was on display last night in Olathe. Nothing political, not left-right, just regular people. And I think for a lot of folks last night who probably spoke, might have been their first time speaking or even going to a city council meeting. I think some of them were probably shocked by how this went down. And I missed it. I left a little early last night because once I knew the outcome, I'm like, all right, I got my jollies. I'm going to beat the traffic, go home. Got to get the kids ready for bed and everything
Bills
else.
Are beating the Chiefs. 2 minutes left of the, there's 3 scores down on a Monday night game. You're going to hit the exit.
You know what it was like, too, in some ways? It was kind of like where when your team has a bad bullpen, and you watch your team go up 5-2 going into the top of the 9th, and then 2 guys get on base, no outs, and you're like, I know how this is playing out. I'm leaving before we lose the game. That's what it felt like to me as I was sitting there. Even though you knew the outcome. Like, you walked into the game and you knew the outcome anyway. but then you thought you might have had a chance, and then you quickly realize, yeah, it's not happening. No way, no how. So anyway, I do want to touch on this as well. We, I guess, have exploded our audience in the Slater, Missouri area. Slater, Missouri. Now, you might be saying, wait, Slater, Missouri? Slater, Missouri, population 2,200? Yes, that's right, Slater, Missouri. Now, why would we have an audience that is exploded in Slater, Missouri? Well, because of what we talked about yesterday and what I posted on my Facebook and X pages yesterday, and that is some of the Epstein files that show Ghislaine Maxwell, or somebody with her credit card, I suppose, was in Kansas City in late June of 2020 or 2019 through early July of 2019, a month before Jeffrey Epstein died. And on the receipts for her credit card shows a trip to a Casey's in Slater, Missouri. So there were people commenting on this and sending me direct messages yesterday saying, dude, your post has gone viral in Slater. Small town's going nuts. The conspiracies are running wild.
Throughout the greater Slater metropolitan area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the booming metropolis of Slater, Missouri is all in now on KCMO Talk Radio and Mundo in the Morning. So shout out to all our new listeners out there in Saline County. Thanks for being here as a part of the show.
I got some grainy photos here, Keith. They're kind of grainy, but I think we're looking at closed circuit TV, going back, trying to trace it.
I don't know if they're listening on the app. If we get out there on 7:10 a.m., maybe to Saline, I don't know. I just know this. Our post has gone viral in the greater Slater area. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the party. With that, if you missed it, Melinda Gates spoke yesterday. The ex-wife of Bill Gates. Bill Gates, of course, the founder of Microsoft, showed up in these Epstein files. And an email allegedly from Bill Gates, and he has denied all of this, just to be very clear, through a spokesperson. But an email allegedly involving Bill Gates sent to Jeffrey Epstein suggests that he was trying to basically roofie his own wife with some type of antibiotic because he got an STD from a Russian girl. That's the email allegation that came out in the Epstein files, one of the many that came out in the Epstein files last week. So Melinda Gates, once again, she has divorced Bill Gates. She talked about this yesterday, and here's what Melinda Gates had to say.
No girl should ever be put in the situation that they were put in by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him. No girl. I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right? I remember being those ages those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So for me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage, but I have moved on from that. I purposely pushed it away and I moved on. I'm in a really unexpected, beautiful place in my life. So whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
That was Melinda Gates in a podcast with NPR that is going to be released today. But that clip dropped last night. And that's Melinda Gates. I mean, it goes to show you, too. You can be married to one of the richest people in the world and be absolutely miserable. You can be a billionaire in a marriage and be absolutely miserable. And that's what I heard there from Melinda Gates. And she didn't jump to Bill's defense. She didn't say, Bill would never do such a thing. No, I mean, and these emails that, came out, once again, Bill Gates has denied them. But you would think that if Melinda Gates was looking to defend her ex-husband and at least defend his reputation, she'd be like, listen, I was married to the guy for decades. There's a lot of stuff that's floating out there, but I have a hard time believing this. No, the email that was in the Epstein files said that Bill Gates got some STD from some Russian girl. Now, she may have been of age, obviously. We don't know the age of this person. But he gets some STD, and then he's trying to figure out in this email to Jeffrey Epstein how to slip an antibiotic into his wife's drink because they just want to give her the STD. And Melinda Gates gets asked about it yesterday by NPR in this podcast coming out today, and she didn't exactly run to his defense there. She was kind of like, he'll have to answer for that. And I'm a lot happier now than I was. That is quite the indictment. So this thing is continuing to have this drip, 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 drip to it, and this trail that's coming out. And where it leads to, I don't know. I don't know where it leads to. But I know this. Slater, Missouri is popping this morning in the wake of our post on social media, on Facebook and X. And on top of that, obviously, you've got people starting to speak out. And whether or not it leads to like the arrest of a lot of famous and powerful people, I've got to see that before I believe it, to be totally honest. Oh, this is just, this is like the greatest thing that you will hear maybe all month. I'll say at the very least this week. And it comes courtesy of NBC 10 in Boston. So, of course, there's all these conversations happening around refugees, people who are here illegally, what the deportation process looks like, who to focus on in the deportation process, right? Those are all conversations that reasonable people can have and reasonable people can disagree with. Where do you start? Who should the focus be? I've always said, hey, start at the top. Start with people who not just are here illegally, but who have committed crimes in addition to being here illegally, which is still a double crime. That's one part of the conversation. And then you kind of work your way down from there, okay? That's how this should go. I don't think that's difficult. We lost track of some of that in Minneapolis over the last few weeks, where you had ICE doing its thing with very violent criminals, and then you had Border Patrol kind of up there just hanging out outside of Home Depots, and that caused a lot of chaos and confusion. And I think that in part, the administration lost the narrative with that approach. But then you get people who are so dug in and worship the altar of their politics that they say things like this to their local TV station and don't even realize how absurd they sound. This is a woman, NBC 10 in Boston, and I saw this at the end of yesterday's show before I play it, and I was like, I've got to make sure this is not AI generated. And then I was like, all right, double-checked, triple-checked, and I was like, okay, all right, we've got something here. Let's roll the tape, and here's what it sounded like.
And it's really fun having them. What I realized is there's so much prejudice against refugees, mostly because people don't know them.
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking. ¿Te gusta?
No. Did you see that yesterday?
I did. We sort of buried the headline because it's the old argument. Well, if you back these immigrants so much, why don't you take a family in? Which this woman then in turn did.
I know.
And then... Because I have a personal cook.
Oh, my gosh.
Really?
You just can't make this stuff up. I thought we had some good clips last night here in Olathe and KCK. And then I heard that, and I was like, oh, my goodness, stop the presses. So that was at a local news in Boston. And then this, on the other side of the country, was in San Francisco. ABC 7 in San Francisco, where, of course, the Super Bowl is not taking place there. It's in Santa Clara, where the 49ers play. You had a billboard in San Francisco that is now going viral. And I was talking to somebody yesterday. A lot of the media stuff is in San Francisco. It's not in Santa Clara. So a lot of media folks and people who are just visiting are staying in San Francisco, which, by the way, with traffic is going to be like an hour and a half drive anyway. But in California, they call that right around the corner. So this was a billboard that is now going viral in San Francisco. And the billboard says Defender of the Year, playing off of the football term, Defender of the Year, ICE.
A new digital billboard at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco is evoking mixed reactions.
It made me sick to my stomach.
It's an ad that shows support for ICE.
They have a job to do, too. That's it. I don't have a problem with them.
The billboard reads, Defensive Player of the Year, ICE. A group that calls itself American Sovereignty is behind the billboard. We tried to reach out to them to learn more about their motivation, but have not been able to reach anyone.
I'm worried for my neighbors. I'm worried for what is happening, and I'm worried to see it escalating here.
With the Super Bowl just days away, these concerned community members say they're doing something every day to get their message out.
All right, so that comes from ABC7 in San Francisco. I love the TV station going like, we reached out to the company who put up the billboard looking for their motivation. I'm pretty sure we know what the motivations are.
Yeah.
They're trolling San Francisco. That's what they're doing in part. They're getting a massive amount of attention. They're triggering people on street corners. That's what they're doing. It's one big troll. Let's not overthink this here, okay? It's one big, massive troll. That's all any of this is. That's it. That's the extent of it. Just have some fun with it. But, the local news can't help itself. Oh, we reached out. We're trying to get and figure out their motivations. Can I help you with that, Captain Obvious? Man, it's too much sometimes. If you think that sometimes local news doesn't do a great job here in Kansas City, just know it's across the board. I mean, San Francisco's a top 5 market. You have cream of the crop, theoretically, and then you have reporters with a straight face being like, not sure on the motivations here. We'll have to figure that one out at a later time. John, back to you.
The old Chris Plant Cheesecake Factory riot, remember?
Yes.
I think people are coming out of the building with cheesecake. It's not clear where it came from.
Oh, my gosh. 913-408-7957. We have continued audio and coverage from last night's meeting in Olathe in KCK on the Chiefs Stadium. You'll hear more of these residents coming up next. So the Chiefs have put out a statement following the 7-0 vote last night in Olathe, where, of course, they moved ahead with the ordinance to kick in future sales tax revenues from the proposed practice facility location at College and Ridgeview to help pay off the $300 million project. Chief's statement reading as follows. We want to thank Mayor John Bacon and the entire Olathe City Council for engaging the community in a public hearing. Oh, my, stop. I mean, I was there last night. Anybody who was there last night, if you actually were interested in engaging the public and you actually were intrigued by the feedback of the public, the vote was not going to be 7-0. It was a predetermined vote. Stop with the, oh boy. Thanks for engaging the public, which, by the way, 4-1 hated it outside of a couple of your friends. And, appreciate the time. Just be like, hey, thanks for passing this thing 7-0. We're thrilled about the project. We can't wait to be in Olathe. But don't put out a statement saying we're grateful that you engaged the community. You basically wasted everybody's time is what you did. For engaging the community there right here in a public hearing and subsequently approving ordinance number 2606 in support of the Star Bond project for a new Kansas City Chiefs practice facility and team headquarters in Olathe. We also thank the members of the public who took the time to attend and contribute to the public forum. While there is still much work to come, we recognize the level of excitement in Olathe about the project. And the excitement is matched throughout the Chiefs organization. We look forward to building on this partnership. Okay, that statement was clearly pre-written, knowing the outcome was going to be what it was. Because there is no way you put out this statement if you have any pulse of the people and any feel for what actually happened last night. Like, if you want to put lipstick on a pig here, what you would do with that statement is say, while we understand the ongoing concerns of many of the residents who showed up tonight in Olathe, we will prove to you that we want to be good stewards and good partners with your city, and we look forward to being a contributing member of the tax base in Olathe, Kansas. That's, if you're the Chiefs, whoever runs the PR for the Chiefs and writes these statements, Mark Donovan should fire him today. This is not the statement you put out if you're trying to show some level of empathy and understanding some of the concerns, reasonable concerns, that came up last night from residents. This is such an aloof statement from the Chiefs, and I'm trying to give everybody here the benefit of the doubt. But at least put out a statement that's somewhat in touch with what I saw firsthand and with what Mark saw firsthand last night.
My guess is the Chiefs they forwarded 90% of those emails to the Chiefs, the positive 90%, right?
Well, maybe that's it. But there's no way that anybody who was at that meeting last night can come away and draw together that statement that the Chiefs just put out. Oh, we're thrilled. Everything's great. Can't wait to keep the ball rolling forward. This is going to be fantastic. It's just impossible. You've got to be able to tailor your message to what you heard last night. You cannot just whistle past the graveyard and act like everything is fine. You just can't do it. Show a little humility. Show you're in touch a little bit with what some of the folks are saying. That's it. Just pretend.
The level of excitement is unmatched.
Yeah, unmatched. Oh, my. No one's ever seen this level of excitement. The greatest excitement we've ever seen in Olathe, Kansas. Oh, my gosh. Well, here's what it actually sounded like last night at the meeting.
Anyone that truly wants to put money towards paying for the stadium or playing field, feel free to start a GoFundMe for Mr. Hunt.
Our elected officials seem to be working harder at representing the Chiefs than your own residents, the taxpayers.
The next up on the plan there was to do a fiscal analysis. So we're going to vote on it first, then do the fiscal analysis.
That guy was good. I think he was a business executive or an accountant or something, but that guy was like, wait, you got this whole thing backwards. We don't know what's in the project. And you're like, don't worry. It's the old Obamacare line. You got to pass the bill to see what's in the bill.
I liked the economics teacher. He did his thing and he said, show your work. Just like I tell my students, show your work.
Yeah, that was a little cheesy, but he was good.
I liked it.
He was fired up. I could tell that was your boy there, Mark. Even though I know you disagree with him, I could tell that was your boy right there. 913-408-7957 is our text line and our studio line here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. But like that first guy, young guy, and you could tell he was progressive in nature. He's the one who made the point, hey, if you're a progressive, why would you want to go out there and just kick in tax dollars to billionaires? Because that's a big thing for them. And then he says, if you're conservative, what happened to your free market principles? So he called out both sides, and that's what made this so unique. It was not left versus right. It was not liberals on one side, conservatives on the other. It was not Republicans on one side, Democrats on the other. It was regular people with legitimate concerns of all backgrounds, young, old, all age groups, all political backgrounds, all career backgrounds, rich, working class, saying, I've got questions, and you guys have done a terrible job handling the process. And Olathe is like, all right, thanks, guys, 7-0. See you tomorrow. It's like, that was a good time. Thanks for spending a couple hours here. That's basically what happened last night. So that goes to show you what this really is at its core, is the folks versus the insider establishment class. Because there are members of the city council who are Republicans and Democrats, but who are right now on this project in lockstep. That's where this is. And it was the same concerns in Wyandotte County last night as you had in Olathe. And I don't think it's going to matter much in KCK either. They didn't vote on anything last night. They just had a public hearing, and then they're voting on Thursday. At least KCK is like kind of pretending, hey, we'll give this a couple days, think it over, right? Even though I think the outcome's going to be the same there, but at least they're doing the whole like, well, we'll see, we'll give this one a couple days. Olathe basically, public hearings ended at about, it was about 8:40-ish. No, it was earlier than that, 8:15, 8:20. I left at around 8:40. And by 9:06, unanimous vote. Keep it rolling, baby. Keep it rolling. And the big theme last night was this, from the council perspective. This is just a lot of farmland. You got some cows over there. You got some cattle at that college in Ridgeview northwest corner. So, we're not making any money there anyway. So if we give some of the money back to the team, well, hey, we're getting something out of it. Right now, something is better than nothing. That's the approach that they have to all of this. We give this land, or this land gets sold to the Chiefs. They develop it, and then it becomes, a place where there's sales tax growth, which right now there is none. And in the end, something is better than nothing. That's kind of their attitude to the whole thing. But here's the thing, the attitude, and when you have that approach, you're basically coming to the conclusion that nobody else could do anything and would ever want this land, despite the fact that it is some of the most desirable land in western Johnson County. Like, this is not a negligent part of the city or the county that nobody would ever want to build in. The question is this the right thing to do as Olathe potentially gets put on the hook for things like infrastructure work, public works improvements, right? Whatever else they are tasked and asked to do, an increase in law enforcement potentially, if you're going to have a facility like that out there. What does that do to your bottom line? How does that impact it? Do the sales taxes that you will end up generating that you're not giving back to the team to pay off the stadium or pay off the practice facility, does that net give you a positive outcome? Those are all like very basic questions because that's how you would run your household, right? If you're going to invest in something, what is your return on it? And they don't have those numbers. They just look at it as if there's no expense tied to anything, and whatever we get on this deal is going to be more than we're getting now. That's the only perception they have on this. And it's so oversimplified. And it's so insulting to anybody who's run a small business, anybody who's run a household budget. You bring in whatever it is, $5-6 a month. Okay, well, every decision you make, is this expenditure going to bring me some kind of ROI? And what then in the end does it look like? And does that mean it's a valuable ROI? All those things need to be considered. And none of them, as far as I could tell, were being considered last night by the council, because you went into this just like you go into watching professional wrestling or watching the Harlem Globetrotters, knowing full well what the outcome is going to be, John.
Just a few cows out there roaming around, not making any money. So could you refund the property owner their taxes back then?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah, I'm sure they got a pretty big property tax bill on that
We
thing.
wouldn't want you to be misleading. Why don't you genuinely make nothing on that piece of land and refund the guy's property tax?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm sure they'd take that, right? 913-408-7957 is how you join us here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Pete, so a potential union member who you talked about being in favor of the deal last night doesn't have skin in the game, but residents living miles away do. Yeah, because residents are the ones who, in the end, can be on the hook. Absolutely, residents living miles away do. And I'm not saying the union guy doesn't have a right to have a voice in all this. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm simply saying is that people who live miles away, who are taxpayers in Olathe, absolutely have skin in the game. The union guy has a right to say this could be good for me and my job. But the only people who spoke out in favor of this thing last night were friends of the council, union members, and you actually had, and I'll play the audio in the 8 o'clock hour, the spouse of a sitting council member. That's it. I mean, if that right there doesn't tell you something, if that doesn't stink, okay, then I don't know what's going to make you think this thing stinks. I just can't help you at that point. I can't. 913-408-7957. Tammy, go ahead. You're in Shawnee. What's up, Tammy?
Good morning. I just want everyone to be aware that right now there's a bond issue in Olathe for the schools, and it's a pretty hefty bond issue. And how much more are the Olathe homeowners supposed to take? How much more debt do they need to take on? A lot of places that we looked where we look in society, in our cities, at the state, at the County, at the national level, we look in those areas and there's lots of waste.
Yeah.
You know,
now
in
let
our
me be
schools.
clear. Let me be clear that deal, and I agree with you. It's a $389 million no tax rate increase bond. It's different in the sense of on this Chiefs deal, the city is not backing any bonds here. So I want to be fair to them on that. It's not the same as the school bond, but I get your point. I mean, the city of Olathe obviously has increased its expenditures like most other cities have in Johnson County. And I would argue at times irresponsibly.
I understand what you're saying, but I think it's going to be a hard sell for taxpayers because they're not going to understand what you just said. And they're going to be convinced that in the end, this cost is somehow going to trickle down to them. And they've had enough. That's what
There's
I'm
no
hearing.
doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. You know, they have. Now, there's a couple other angles that came up yesterday, last night. I will get to it. We'll get to your calls as well here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. Streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app, 913-408-7957. I know many of you want to get in, want to react. We'll do more of that coming up next. All right, once in a while, I just have to do a quick Q&A on the text line as a public service. Figure it basically a PSA. Pete, what channel can we find Kid Rock's halftime program on Monday night? If you're searching for it on Monday night, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Okay?
Keep looking.
You can keep looking, but you're not going to find it anywhere on Monday night. If you want to find it on Sunday night, though, the Super Bowl's traditionally on a Sunday. You can find it on TBN, Turning Point USA YouTube channel, OAN, a bunch of channels I won't be watching. I'm just going to the bathroom during the halftime show. I mean, between Bad Bunny and Kid Rock, I'd rather just be deaf, to be honest, between those two options. Okay, back to the meetings last night in Olathe and KCK. This is on the text line, too. Just want to note this as well. Pete, the property for the practice facility, College and Ridgeview, this texter says, is an original Kansas homestead property, several generation farm. They are exempt from property tax. So in the city's mind, they're not currently getting any money from the property. So
shifty.
Yes. So here's my reaction to that. And it's part of where I started the show. If your intended goal is to always just grow the government coffers, and you have 165 primetime acres not giving you, the city, any money, whoa.
How dare you?
Well, you better figure out a way to bring in some coin off of that primetime real estate. We don't want people to actually feel like they live in Kansas by having some nice open land and, some cattle and everything else roaming around. We got to figure out how to make some money off of that land.
Because after all, it is stolen.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, Billie Eilish. I appreciate the input there. Oh, my gosh. All right. Donna's in Paola. Donna, good morning. You're on KCMO.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, the infrastructure in Olathe already stinks. The roads are awful. I-35 is literally a parking lot morning and afternoon. So adding more traffic to this mess is just asking for more trouble.
Yeah.
So I really think they need to rethink this because it's not going to make it any better. It sure as heck needs a lot of work before they put that kind of traffic in there.
Yep. I agree. And that comes back to, thank you, Donna. It's more going to be in the K10 area in Ridgeview. And listen, I know it very well. What that looks like is really the question, and what the city contribution is. Redoing all this stuff, right? What did it cost to do the 69 Expressway? $500 million? I'm not saying that any kind of changing of an opening of Ridgeview Road and K10 is going to cost that kind of money, but you're going to have to do something there, and it will be at least tens of millions of dollars. Who's paying for it? Who's on the hook for that? What's Olathe's contribution? What does that look like? All these basic questions that anybody with an ounce of common sense would be asking can't be answered at this point. It just can't be. Or they're not willing to answer it, one or the other, which either way is a terrible look for the city council. Steve in KCK. What's up, Steve?
Morning, Pete. I just want to say last night, first, I've never been more proud to be a citizen of Wyandotte County. Everybody was articulate. You could tell that they ran their speeches through ChatGPT first. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to sound professional. I'm serious. I mean, ChatGPT is helping people articulate themselves better. I come from Wyandotte County. I know the education there. I know it would definitely help me speak better. Second is I didn't stick around to speak because everybody pretty much what I said had already said what I wanted to say. But here's the thing about rich people. They always leave themselves a loophole and an out. So even if they don't read the fine print in what the unified government, something's going to be written in there like they have to come back to the unified government if they want to make changes. Well, what good is it to come back to the unified government if they're just going to give them a yes anyway? They don't read the fine print. There will be something in there that's going to benefit rich people.
Well, there's already something. I mean, the whole thing is about the
right, but like they want to make changes, and they pitch this like, well, if we want to make any changes, we'll have to go through the unified government. You know, they'll have to go through us before they make any changes. Well, they just blew through you last night. They blew through you. You could tell by their minds was made up.
Yeah.
And there was one commissioner who wanted to speak, but he was shot down. My commissioner, Phil Lopez, he wanted to speak out, and the mayor shut him down. And I really wanted to hear from my commissioner. You know, I want to know what he had to say because he's going to be the one no vote that I know for sure.
All right. Well, it's good to know. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you, man. It's good to know there may be some back and forth being had in KCK. That was not the case in Olathe last night. 7-0 vote.